So I know him.
Welcome to Mission Riverside. I'm Patrick Maloney and my co-host.
Tim Brown, how are you doing?
And we're here today at Cellar Bookstore.
We are. Canyon Crest. They've got a bit of some controversy going on here. We thought we'd take a moment to sit down with the owner. Your name?
Linda, Sherman-Nurick.
And we have a special guest with us, Congressman Mark Takano.
Well, thank you, Mark Takano. But the real special person here is Linda.
So, Linda, tell us what's going on.
Tuesday evening at about 8 o'clock, I checked my email and there was a notice that my lease was to be terminated and I was to be out of this space that we have had for 10 years by February 28th.
Why?
They have given no reason. We are absolutely up on all of our rent. There is, we did it even through COVID. We didn't ever have a problem.
And you've been here 10 years.
10 years.
You're an independent, actually Ralph tells me one of the only independent new booksellers in Riverside, if not the only.
We're the only new.
Yeah.
We have some used bookstores in Riverside, but we don't have any other new independent bookstores.
So it'd probably be safe to say that there's some other issues here that people are having problems with, maybe.
That would be what I would guess.
What do you think?
I think so.
What do you think those problems might be?
The timing of this was rather interesting. We had our first drag queen story time of 2023. ¿Qué pasó, mama?
Okay.
Somebody's trying to steal the show.
Yeah, she is. Well, and she does it all the time.
That's okay.
That's okay. We love them.
We had our first drag queen story time of 2023 on Saturday. Interestingly enough.
Timing is everything, right?
Timing is interesting.
Well, that's a real shame, Riverside. What's up with that?
Yeah, and it's one of those things where when you hear something like this, it's a beautiful store, and I've actually come here all the time. I stop by here, especially when I go over to my friend Romano's right next door. I always make sure to stop over at the bookstore because it's a really cool place. And I was told about this place maybe 4 or 5 years ago by my friend Ralph from Hey Riverside. And I said, hey, this is a cool place, and I've stopped by during the story time. It's really cool. It's a beautiful thing. I didn't really come in. I just looked in, was like, wow, this is special, and it's something neat in Riverside. And it's not nice to see something such as a beautiful bookstore like this being pushed out. But we also want to mention something, that there's a lot of comments online about boycotting this area or businesses. And we don't really want to boycott businesses around here because we love a lot of our friends that are around here. But we also don't want to support people who spread hate or misinformation or anger and stuff. Or maybe that's the big problem.
Which brings me to my next comment or question. Is this a matter of people trying to shove their own perspectives, for lack of a better term, down some other people's throats and trying to force them to live a lifestyle that they want or feel is supposed to be?
That is my guess. I cannot prove it.
Shame, shame, shame.
And I will say, it behind the scenes,
That's me.
I've heard of, I won't name names, but I've had soundmen tell me that they weren't going to do sound for a drag show. And it's like, that's not right, but I'll take your place because you know what? Those are some of the funnest shows and you can have a great time. And so maybe open up your mind and go meet some new friends and stop, spreading, the anger. Let's spread some love.
Fear.
Even if you don't agree with it, don't try to push someone out. We want to make sure to support everybody in our Riverside community, and we love everybody. So,
and I would imagine that's why Congressman Takano's here.
And so, Linda Sherman, you have hosted kind of a program or a series of drag queen story hours, and drag queen story hours are something that I've seen libraries across the country engage in. They are innocent affairs, the epitome of innocence, because I came to one of Linda's drag queen story hours to actually read a story. I told Linda I would do it on the condition that I would not have to put on drag myself. And so I sat down, but she was very sneaky. She came behind me and put a boa. And I said, Linda, this is going too far. But it didn't matter because the kids were more interested in the drag queens anyway. They were the real stars. And to a little kid, a drag queen is this magnificent, magical sort of presence. This little girl was like, I just remember her just effusively saying, "You are so beautiful."
Yeah.
And and for the drag queens to read the stories and their way they interact with the children is just so innocent. And you know what? Some extremists in our country have turned drag queen story hours into something they're not. And this very innocence, which we should be rallying to protect, this wonderful moment when young people are completely free of hatred. They're sort of in the space with a drag queen, and drag queens in some parts of our country are really misunderstood. But I don't know if it's about imposition. So there is a bit of imposition of values by some people and others, but there's also this wanting to erase the existence of people. There is an element of unfounded hate. So, you know, I think Linda is a brave entrepreneur. She's a very brave entrepreneur. Someone who decides to open up an independent bookstore is by definition somebody who's like ready to do what my good friend John Lewis talked as good trouble.
Yes.
Being a forum for ideas, being a place where authors who are going to provoke our thoughts come. And of course, Linda Sherman would be hosting Story Hour.
Like these, right? Like these.
And you know, what's the crime with having kids want to read books? I mean, that is something special. The fact that you're getting kids to get off their phones, get off their devices, and sit down and read a book. That's magic right there.
Yep.
And you're doing a great service for our community. We are so lucky to have you in Riverside. And I know that it's too early to know, but no matter where you go, we will be there to support you.
Yes.
And we are so thankful that you have a bookstore here in Riverside. And, you know, I don't know what business is going to allow her to be there, but you should give her a really good deal and make sure that she has a nice spot where everybody sees her.
Bravo.
And that would be a wonderful thing.
I look forward to following this story, following Linda, and following the bookstore and finding out where they land, because she's got a wonderful attitude. And I got to tell you, you know, when one door closes, another door opens. She is of the belief that this bookstore is going to come up from the ashes and be even better.
Yep.
Yeah.
There it is.
Absolutely.
We are truly lucky to be here. I want to keep going, but I know she has another interview with a big news agency coming up, and we don't want to keep Mark and everybody here too long. But is there any final words, Mark and Linda, that you would like to say to our friends out there in Riverside and even farther out there? Because I know a few friends from out of town will be watching this one.
Linda?
Just support your independent bookstores wherever you are.
Yes.
And what's happening here is important, and we need to make sure that it doesn't happen without acknowledging what it is.
Yeah.
Bravo. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Any final words, Mark?
You know, as somebody who grew up in this community, was born and raised here, I know that this community, to my surprise and elation all the time, expresses pride that they've elected someone like me who is openly gay. I wasn't always openly gay, but you know, I remember the days when the very pernicious narrative out there was that teachers who were gay were somehow going to recruit young people.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
And I always remember my good friend Sheila Kuehl. Many people may not know, but Sheila was the first out LGBT person, the first lesbian to be elected to our state legislature, maybe the second one actually. But she would sarcastically say, "Oh yeah, let me join a club where I'm going to be like despised, hated, spit upon. Let me sign me up for that club," right? In a kind of interesting way. You know, trans people, people who are, you know, binary or, you know, non-binary, that, you know, this is not about recruiting people. And people have turned Drag Queen Story Hour into this idea that this is a place where they're being groomed to, like, enter into a life where they're more likely to be killed than most Americans.
I have,
You know,
I have
so-
friends
so-
that do that, where they say preach hate, and you just don't want any of that, and you want to go, hey guys, maybe you should stop and look at what you're saying. This is really hurtful.
Well, here's the thing. It's an opportunity for us to kind of ask people to think about this. Like, is this, are you really going to fall into the trap of like what happened to gays and lesbians 20 years ago, 15 years ago, where people villainized them, called them, perverts, and that they were about to recruit your kid or child into being gay or lesbian. And most people now have a better understanding of gay and lesbian people today and laugh that off and think that's absurd because they know that it's not something kids choose and can be groomed into. And the same thing is true for an even smaller minority. A minority, who I said, is really most in danger of dying by violence because of the hatred that's out there. And it's really the hatred we need to stand up to,
Right.
and it's the erasing, and it's it's the terrible harm that gets done to a young person who is realizing how they have been made by nature, and that we'll realize it's a terribly cruel thing to do to a young person, to not allow them to grow up to be who they are and to appreciate and love who they are. And Drag Queen Story Hour is a great place for people, for young people, and supportive parents to be able to. And it's not about converting kids to being trans or to be a drag queen. It's about celebrating diversity and celebrating differences.
Isn't it kind of a mix of like education and entertainment?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of both.
It's a little bit of
I mean,
both.
it's a little bit of both.
It's a
You're
little bit of
educating
both.
people
And,
consciously and subconsciously, and it's a form of entertainment for people to come and watch.
well, and drag queens, let's face it, RuPaul. And
Flamboyant.
it's all
They're
about.
really
there's
good
nothing-
entertainers.
It's
Yeah.
entertainment. They're artists. They're artists in their own rights.
Yep.
Right.
I remember doing hospitality
Exactly.
for RuPaul, and it was some of the funnest times I ever had. It was just a great time.
Yep.
And
Well-
I miss doing that stuff. And when you get to meet different people from different lifestyles, it's something that's just going to enrich your life. It's not going to make your life worse. It's going to make things better.
Right.
Love your local drag queen. Don't hate them. You know,
Oh.
that's what it should be all
Yes.
about. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you,
watching.
Patrick.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Linda.
so much.
Thank
We
you.
love you.
Congressman
We'll see you
Takano.
on the next one. Thank you for watching Mission Riverside.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.